And good afternoon, everybody. And whoa, good evening. I'm a little casual today. I was moving some stuff around today. Yeah, and I got my new Skechers. You won't see them, but they're pretty stylish. And they're very comfortable. If you ever want comfortable shoes, get Skechers. Yeah, they're just so, everybody's thumbs up. Yeah, they're, and I have foot problems, so I have to get certain shoes and insoles, and they seem, and these are, wow, so comfortable. Anyway, that's not the class. Maybe I'll ask Skechers to pay me for that little blurb there. All right, I'm going to open up with some music today, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, action. All right, let me put this on. All right. Well, we are coming to you live from the Tucson Mall Penitentiary. I say that because someone said one of the classes Marco taught was, is that in a prison? What prison is that from? Anyway, so he likes to comment. So every now and then I'll say something to see if he's watching. I get some chuckles out of it. Anyway, so today I'm going to do in 2 parts. And I was looking back at all of the classes that we taught, and I kind of have a little running list, and then the last 2 that we posted that Marco taught, I went back and I looked and I thought, we're starting to repeat some of the stuff, but that's okay. I learned from one of the many great clinicians where they say, we learn by repetition, okay? So what I want to do 2 parts today. One, I want to do like basic as basic could be, because there's some new people that are getting GENOS2s now. Within the last 30 days, some just got some, and there's some that will be getting some. So, and it's kind of hard to find which, I tell them to go on and look at all the classes we have, and I think there's 24 of them or something like that. And you have to sift through them and find out which one is the basic. And then I want to kind of lead into what I just did there, because there's something about that's intentional. So first and foremost, when you turn on your Yamaha GENOS2, all right, you should get a screen. And in fact, let me turn it on, turn it off, and turn it on. So right now you're looking at a black screen. Louise, you just got yours recently, and I remember my conversation with you, so pay very close attention. Not to pick on you, but there are some few others that are just getting it. So I'm turning it on. When you first turn it on, that will pop up, okay? And you got to give it, and yes, you have to be patient. I've had phone calls where They thought it was broken because it was taking a while. That just means you know you have a quality instrument because there's a lot of power cycling through this. And you'll see there at the bottom it said Fletcher Music Edition. And if you don't have the Fletcher Music Edition, it'll just come up very similar, okay? But the first thing that shows up is this screen, all right? And like many instruments over the last 30, 40, even, gosh, 50 years, even if you go way back to the late 80s, even early 80s, when music products started to have rhythms and things like that. They didn't sound realistic, but they had them. They had country and, you know, swing and things like that. What everybody did when we learned to play is we picked a song, and back then it was a little easier only because if you picked a song and you said to yourself, what do I use? The first thing is what drum beat I want to use. And your drum beat choices back in the early 80s was swing, foxtrot, country, march, polka, Latin, and three-quarter. So you had 6 options, okay? And if you wanted anything else, you had to get creative. And so it was kind of easy. Well, just pick one that works. Well, now when you do that, you see that big orange button. I refer to it the big orange button. You sit down, you put a piece of music up. The first thing I always say, this is pretty consistent on products going back for 40, 50 years. You find a style and you push the big orange button, and what'll happen is it'll come up on the screen, and the left side is what you want to look at first. And you'll see it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 categories, okay, of music. You got pop, retro pop, dance, entertainer, jazz, Latin, movie shows, traditional and folk, classic and events, ballroom, easy listening, country, R&B, oldies, and rock. Okay, now I'm looking on my screen here, and I know many of you fall in the category of I have an organ already and a GENOS, and some have switched to just GENOS, whether they downsize or whatever the case is. But most of you that I know have or had a organ, okay? And if you look at that left side, it's very similar to the organ or any other product out there. Now, there are some that are identical. For example, country. Country is going to be country. Latin's going to always be called Latin, probably. But when you get into things like jazz, you know, on some of the organs, that might be what would be the big band button. It might be what's called standards on some of the organs. So you're going to see that there's styles in that flavor. And the reason why I'm telling you this is when you find a piece of music, a lot of people, and if you look, before I go further, you'll look on when I selected jazz. In this case, there's page 1 at the bottom, and there's 10 on that page. Page 2 has 10. Page 3 has another 10. Page 4 has another 10. And page 5 has 6. So you've got 46 different styles just under the jazz category. So why am I talking about something so elementary? Well, first of all, if you just got this and you're trying to figure out where do I begin, it's no different than any other product. And it's really no different even if you've had this for a year. You pick the song and you typically find the category. There's 2 ways to think about it. Think about it in terms of what style of music is the song that I'm playing, or what style of music do I want it to sound like? They're not always going to be the same answer. Okay? So for example, sometimes I'll play a song, well, someone jokingly said play Marianne. Well, if I wanted to play the song Marianne, commonly what most people go to is a bossa nova. Why? Because that's what we teach in our level 1. But a lot of times when I play Marianne, I don't play it with a bossa nova. I'll sometimes play it with a samba type style. Sometimes I'll play it with a big band style at 240 or something like that to jazz it up. No pun intended. So or you take a song like Besame Mucho, where most people, it's Latin song, so I'll go to Latin. Well, it doesn't always have to be. How about Begin the Begin? How would you play the song Begin the Begin? Any ideas? What category would I look at?
Latin.
That's a very common one, right? You ever heard of a musician by the name of one of these two? You just a little bit before your time. You ever heard of a musician by the name of Benny Goodman?
Of course.
Your mom and dad probably told you who that was, right? Or Artie Shaw. Well, did they play Latin music? What were they kind of known for? You're saying
Swing.
big band? Would you agree to that? Big band? When I think Benny Goodman, I think, clarinet, big band, Artie Shaw. They were two of the greats in their time. Now, I don't know which direction it is. I always get this confused, and I always ask somebody, and they correct me if I'm wrong. But I think Artie Shaw plays Benny Goodman's arrangement of Begin the Beginning, or vice versa. It's Benny Goodman that does Artie Shaw's. I can't remember which one is which. But in any case, it's actually a big band arrangement. And for years, I used to play that song kind of putting on a Latin or rumba beat or something like that. So going back to this here, this page here, if I wanted to play Begin the Begin, I got to ask myself, do I want to play it as a Latin, because that's what I think, or do I want to kind of play it with the Benny Goodman, Artie Shaw type of style? And if I went with that, I would probably hit the jazz. And then when you look at the styles there, okay, each one has a tempo number next to it. All that means is that's the tempo that is ideal for that style when you initially activate it. It doesn't mean that's the tempo you have to play it at. So I'll give you an example. Now, I said I would play their version. I'm guessing it's around 130, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I'm going to look at these styles and see which one the tempos kind of get me close to that. There's a few. There's one right there, modern big band. So I select modern big band. Okay? And then I'm going to try it out. Now, again, if you're going just basics here, once you select the style that you want to try, you got to tell the instrument to set it up for you, because I don't want to have to push the buttons, right? And how do we do that? Here's how I've been trying for the last 9 months, and I discovered that this is not how you want to do it. It hasn't worked yet. I say, set it up now. You haven't gotten there yet. The GENOS2 is going to have that. Set it up. But that's what your button's one-touch setting is for, okay? Now, I see some of you on. I know you've had these for a while, and this is probably like, okay, I've heard this before. But there's some that haven't, so just bear with me. So I pick the style, and then I touch one-touch setting 1, 2, 3, or 4. I just start with 1. That doesn't mean that's where I need to start, okay? Once you touch that, it sets it up for you with that style. The other thing you need to do, and I'm not going to move my camera, but over to the left side over here, you have 3 intro buttons, 1, 2, and 3. And then you have what's called a main variation, A, B, C, and D. That just ties into the band. A is simple. D is the fanciest that band will play. Not every band is going to be super fancy. And then everything, it's a gradual buildup of the band, okay? And you have 3 endings. You just choose the intro that you want. Intro 1 is very short, very generic, and nice to the point, and kind of goes real quickly. 2 and 3 are a little more elaborate. 3 is a lot longer typically, okay? And I tend to gravitate towards 2 or 3, and sometimes I just start with number 2, okay? So I have my one-touch setting on. One-touch setting sets it up, and I choose an intro. This is no different than if you were playing on, for those of you who have an organ. You select a rhythm style, you have a button that sets it up, and you choose an intro and you play. If you want another sound, you touch one-touch settings, 2, 3, or 4 in this case. So I'll just start it and see how it goes, okay? I forgot what song I was playing. What am I playing? Oh, Begin the Beginning. Okay, now, back up. So the tempo is a little too slow for me. I'm trying to remember the tempo, so I'm going to increase it. And I'll go to, I think it's like 140. Yeah. So there is a classic case where I chose a style, the tempo didn't work. That was the ideal style for that rhythm, but you can speed it up. You could take one that's super fast and bring it down. Okay? So just keep in mind that when you are looking at this screen here, don't think in terms, don't get caught in the trap of, I can't, let me push the orange button again. I can't use that's a style because the tempo may not be correct. 50s big band swing 135. Look at number the second one, 40s band leader swing. That's at 182. And I said I'm at 140. So let me put that 40s band leader swing. I'm going to touch my one-touch setting in the intro. Let me just see if that's too fast for the song. It's a little fast for my flavor, so I just slow it down. I'm going to bring it down to 140, 145, 143. Let's see how that works. And that tempo that I went to, which was, what did I go to? That worked for me. Now I took a style that was too fast for the song, and my point is, it's no different than when you're picking it for anything that you're doing. Now, a couple little helpful hints. I'm going to recap. You pick the style, you touch one-touch setting 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay? Over here you have your intro 1, 2, 3. And then right next to that, you have this main variation A, B, C, and D. Now, it's important to know that if you pick a style that you think maybe it'll work, and you listen to it, okay, and it doesn't work at first, don't get caught in the trap of not playing the song a little further and using these main variations. So for example, when I had this style on, I have main variation A on. Now listen to it. It's kind of like a foxtrot type of a beat, right? So when I play Begin the Beginning, it just doesn't sit well enough for me to want to play the song like that. Listen. It works, but it's a little too foxtrotty for my flavor. So a lot of times what someone will do is, well, I'm just going to use that rhythm. I'll switch to another rhythm. Don't do that yet. Before you move on, try your main variations and listen to it, because you may find that because the band will change. Now A and D is quite a bit different. If you go from A to B, it's a subtle difference. B to C, subtle difference. C to D, subtle difference. But gradually it changes. Now here's A again, main variation A with 40s band leader swing. Now here's variation, main variation B. Now you notice the band has changed a little bit. It still has a little bit of that foxtrot feel, so I'll try it again. Let me do C. I like that one. Now why do I like that one? Because listen to B. Okay, but listen to bass player. I always refer to that as kind of like a foxtrot beat. But watch what happens when I push C. The bass player starts swinging a little bit, right? Now let's play it again. To me, it has. Then I say to myself, mental note. That's the one I'm going to use. When you're using instruments, by the way, when it pulls up a sound like a clarinet, a woodwind, a saxophone in this case, a lot of instruments like that, keep in mind it has kind of a hidden little trick in there. If you listen, here's the saxophone. Okay. What happens is if you push two notes together, say C and D, doesn't sound good, does it? Okay. All of these voices are designed so that when you play more than one finger, if you want, someone wants to play more than one note. But there's a fun little trick, especially with like clarinets, flutes, saxophones, trumpets, that if you hold a note, there's a couple things you can do. If you're holding a note, you want to go up to that other note, while you're holding it, just press the other note and watch what happens. Wait, whoops, let's do it again. It goes up like a saxophone player would really play it. It's not like this. But if you hold a note, it'll do the trill up, the articulation, that like the saxophone. Now, another fun little thing you can do is while you're holding a note, take the next note and tap it a few times, and this is what you get. And it'll give you a trill. Have you ever seen Marco play, what's that big, the Gershwin song, the Rhapsody in Blue? He starts off with a clarinet, and what he'll do is, so we'll see, let's see if there's a clarinet in here. He'll take like a clarinet, and he'll go. Oh, don't go away from my bad singing. But what he actually does is he actually plays it. But out here you can do what Marco does without having to play the notes. You just go hold the note, and then just while you're holding it, tap the other note. Just a little fun little tricks that they put in there.
You're talking about Serenade?
The George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. And the very beginning it goes. I don't know how to play it without the music, but so you can do that with a lot of these instruments. You can create a solo effect. I digress. But point is, after you select the style and you do your one-touch setting, listen to it with the intro and just kind of sometimes go through the variations, because you may find some of those variations in that one style is going to work for the song. The last thing I'll say on this, I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is what I opened up with, is there's a button over here. I tend to leave it off. Sometimes I turn it on, and you can't see it from there, but I know most of you some of you are in front of your instrument because I can tell you're doing this. As I say something, you're going. Okay, but on the left side, you have your intros, your main variation, your intro or your endings. Okay, all your start stop. Up here, there's a button that you always leave on. If you're using the rhythm styles, it's accompaniment. It should come on automatically. If you don't, you'll know because you're not going to get much happening. This is what will happen. All right, but usually when you touch the one touch setting, it'll activate it for you. It also has what's called the auto fill in on activated like that. But right in between what doesn't come on is a button that's called OTS Link. These are your one-touch settings. These set it up for the style that you're choosing. Okay? Main variation changes the band. This changes the sounds. What one-touch setting link does is if you use A, B, C, and D, if you turn it on, it'll automatically go A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So they go hand in hand. If I touch A, 1 is activated now automatically. B, 2 is activated. C, 3 is activated. D, 4 is activated. Now that comes in handy if you like to just reach up because your hand's over here. If you just want to change the band while you're playing. So as I touched it, it was changing it. Sometimes I like to pick what I want here, and I like to pick what I want there whenever I want. Interchange them. So if you have that off, just remember that. Okay? Part 2. I've never played on one of these before. I'm just starting. And I know we've referred to this, but I want to give you a little tip and then maybe a suggestion here. So we have what's in here, it's called the playlist in the Fletcher edition, okay? And the Fletcher edition, I'll say it over and over and over only because many of the students that have a product like this are used to having a Lowry or an Esty that has a feature called Song Setup. And what Song Setup does is it sets up the instrument with the most ideal setup for that song based on the person who programmed it, okay? So if I created song setups for this, and let's say I created 50 of them, okay? That's going to be my version of what I think is the best setup for that song. That doesn't always mean it's going to be the best setup for you, okay? Because we all have different tastes. But it's a great starting point, okay? And it's about 35 pages front and back. It's 17 pages. I think most of you, I've emailed it to you. If you don't have it, there's a couple useful hints if you're kind of new to this, all right? So I'll just screen share this for a minute. And what this does is, so if you're looking there, it's in alphabetical order, and these are all the song titles that are built into it, and you can see off to the left of the screen here, there's 31 pages. Sorry, I thought there were more. 31 pages front and back, so about 16 or 17 if you do it front and back. 31 front page, one side. So I printed this out, and I have, you know, front and back to save paper. But, you know, what the idea is real simple. If you're wanting to play a song and you're not quite sure what style to use, or maybe you're stumped, just check to see if it's in this list. And the odds are pretty good. There's over 1,300, all right? But it does tell you something else that I'm going to refer to and come back to. What it does is, for example, let's say, that's a great one. Ain't misbehaving. Oh, ain't no mountain high enough. All by myself. No, I don't want to sing that. My fiance just went out of the country for 2 weeks. So if I start playing that one, I'm going to start crying. All by myself. Okay, All of Me, that's an old classic there. So you'll see it says All of Me. On the right, the right side, this right here, that tells you what button to select in the playlist. And this tells you the rhythm, the exact rhythm that it's going to set up for you. Okay? Let me say that again. It tells you what category to go to in the playlist. And when you find the song title in the playlist, it's telling you what style it's going to set up for you. And you can use this a couple ways. Okay? So, for example, I'm going to go, so you have your playlist button over here. I'm going to press it. And when I do that, you get your screen. Oops, I was fooling around earlier. You get the screen here, and you touch Playlist for GENOS2, and then the category that I found was jazz. Okay. Now I'm going to go back. If you're kind of fooling around with this, all right. Let me just put this on. If you're in your home screen and you push Playlist, and you see this is pretty important if you're new to this. And you need to get to the jazz category because the screen will remember the last category you're in. Okay? So I want to get to jazz. Now look at the top of the screen. Do you see it there? It says GENOS2 Playlists Oldies. Okay? I have a simple one-page step-by-step instruction what I'm telling you right now. If you need it, let me know. I can email it to you. Email it to me. Email me and say, please send me that checklist. But in this case, I want to get to the jazz category. My problem is that the last one that shows up. Just touch on the tops of the screen there where it says GENOS2 Playlist, whatever it says. And then you can either use that arrow on the bottom, or sometimes I just push the user button. And when you press it, you'll notice it's going to change. And then I touch Playlist for GENOS2, and now I can go and select the category that I want. And once you select it and you highlight it, the last thing you have to do, and I'm going to do this again, is come back over here and press this Playlist button. And then when you do that, it shows you all the song titles in the playlist in alphabetical order under that category. I'm looking for All of Me, so you'll see it happens to be the third one down. If you need to scroll, I just like to scroll. I like to use this little arrow right there below the 2, 1, 10. You see that there? Okay. And then you select it by touching it. And you got to hit the check mark. And you'll know if you activated it if it turns green, okay? And you'll see the style. It says All of Me and what style it's going to use, all right? Now, another thing you can do after you get to the title, if it doesn't turn green, just hit this little enter button over there, and it'll turn it green. And now, here's the difference. This is a reminder. When you're using playlists, it's going to set up the registration buttons here. When you're doing it the way we just did, it automatically turns on the first preset for you, and then you play your song. Okay, and then as you go through the presets, it's going to give you other settings for that song, and it'll automatically change the variations for you, okay? Now, if you select it and you forget about these and you start using one-touch settings, that's okay because it's already selected the style for you. But just remember this, if you're using the playlist, one always has the intro, 7 always has let me rephrase. 1 always has the intro built into it. The last number always has the ending. I almost said 7 because sometimes there's 6, sometimes there's 7, sometimes there's even 8 setups. Okay? And then whatever in between are the different changes. Okay? Now, I'm going to take it a step further. I opened up with a song today. Technically 2 songs. What were the 2 songs I played? Do you remember? It was over 30 minutes ago, so.
Begin the begin.
Begin the begin. No, that was after I did that. Very opening song, I did a.
Some wacky jazz thing.
Some wacky jazz thing. No. No, that was the example I used for begin the begin. But oh, I know what I did. It was I was trying. It was an okay attempt of Walking After Midnight.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was going to play Bad Bad Leroy Brown, but I couldn't remember the chords. Walking After Midnight, okay? But I did not use the song setup or playlist for Walking After Midnight. In fact, I wonder if it's even in there. Let me just see. Is it Walking After Midnight or You'll Be Walking in After Midnight? Let's see. No, it's not in there. Okay. This is what I actually used, okay? Anyone heard of a guitar player by the name of Stevie Ray Vaughan? All right. If you like the blues, you probably know who that is. Back when I was a guitar player, still am, but when I was playing in my band days, we did a lot of classic rock and blues, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was several. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan as a guitar player. If you like the blues, you made sure you played some Stevie Ray Vaughan. He had a lot of great, and unfortunately he died in a plane accident. But he was known to be one of the greatest blues guitar players in that era. And he had many songs. One of them was called Pride and Joy. He had he had a lot of great big hits for a blues guitar player. That was a big deal because there were a lot of great blues guitar player and bands, but there were very few that got the big name out there like some of the other pop stars. So what I did, I was just curious, and I went to the playlist, and I went to R&B, so I touched that. I'm going to use user, touch playlist for GENOS2, and then I went to R&B, select it, and there he goes. And the song that I chose, I was just fooling around, just curious. I chose Pride and Joy. You'll see it says Texas Blues, and I highlighted it, and what it did is it set up 6 presets here, but I didn't play Pride and Joy for you. What I played was this, and I used intro 3 where it comes up on 2. So here is number 3. This is what I did earlier at the opening. Okay, so that's what I did. But the song, if you use the song, this is the way this. Now here's the other trick to this, and next week, by the way, I'm going to dive in detail on this. I taught a class, I don't know, about 2 or 3 months ago on altering and changing the presets and saving them and saving the transpose. So I'm going to do a little bit of that next week, and I have other cool little bonus tip that I'm going to share with you next week. So make sure to keep an eye on the email. It's going to be the same time next week. But I took this, and the original song was, as a guitar player, a lot of guitar players play Robert Fisher is always commenting on this. True. A lot of, if you want it simple, we play a lot of E and A chords, and this song was originally written, played in the E. However, when he played it, I think he tuned his guitar a half step down just to give it a little different tone. So if I did that, I have to transpose it down 1/2 step, and I do this. Okay, but if someone wanted to play that in easy play, found it an easy play, more than likely it's probably not an E. And so I'm going to transpose it up 1, 2, 3 times to E flat. Let's see if you can catch this. To E flat, but I'm playing it in the key of C, so it sounds like the way Stevie Ray Vaughan did it when he played it in E, transposed down a half step. Did you catch all that? Okay, so he played it in E. When I did it in the band, I transposed my guitar a half step down, so it sounded like I was playing an E flat, okay? But if I play it in the key of C, I have to transpose it up 3 times to E flat. So, and it sounds something like this. Oops. It's a little hard for me. I'm used to playing it in E. But the words were, heard about your loving, is that treated blind? My baby loving, cause the sun does shine. She is my sweet little baby. She is my sweet little baby. Or what is the ending there? A little tricky. I'm so used to playing that in E so many years, it was like messing with my head. Now, what is the point of this? So you may never play that song. You may like it and learn it, or you may say, it's not a song that I would. But you can take that song and try something else with it, like I tried. Or what did I say? Bad, Bad Leroy Brown. I usually play it in G. Or you could use them for other things. Now, let's say that you have these setups that are programmed from the playlist, and in this case, I actually like the setups. I like this one here. I like this one. I kind of like them all. But let's say you found one you didn't like, or maybe you wanted to add it to that. The beauty of the playlists is that they give you 6 or 7, in some cases 8, but if you want to alter those and create your own settings, you can do that real simply. So for example, let's say I like, I go, you know what, no, let's see. I go, you know, I kind of like that. Let me let me change the guitar sound. So if you're in your home screen, okay, and you'll see in there on the home screen on this preset, it's always good to have the home screen on. You'll see whatever is lit. So I'm going to turn it off. You see, whatever is lit is what's on. Okay? And in case you're wondering where are those at, right here you have right 1, 2, and 3, which is where we change most of our sounds, right? Sometimes the left hand, yes and no. All right, so you have the 3. I have 1 on by itself. And did my screen just go white? Is that me? What did I just do? I have no idea what I just did, or somebody did. That was interesting. Okay, let me try this again. Okay, so you'll see the sound there. It says guitar, or it looks like a picture of a guitar. It says solo A, so that's the sound that you're hearing. Let's say I want to change that, and I want to keep it as a guitar, but let me try a different guitar. And you just try them. You know what? I like that. Okay, so you made a change now. Well, here's what you want to do. You make a change, you may want to save it. Okay, this is where we're getting to. Maybe you've kind of played a lot with the playlist and you've played with the styles. It's pretty simple. Try it out first. Maybe I'll try a different variation. Let's see. Okay, I want to save that. Because if you don't, you push another preset or setup, guess what's going to happen? Poof, gone away. All right, so here's what you do. You want to save it, you push this little memory button here. Okay? And when you push the memory button, what shows up on the screen, you're going to see this pop up on the screen. Now you'll see, wrong camera. Wrong camera, where are you? Camera. Oh, there we go. All right, so I push memory, this is what happens, okay? So you'll notice that if I have a lot of things checked because I want everything saved. Now, I want to go to that transpose. See the transpose option? This, to me, I've always debated that with people. Transpose doesn't necessarily have to be saved. A lot of my presets that I save, I purposely don't save transpose. And the reason is this. If I save my own preset without transpose, and I go back and play it, sometimes I like to play those songs in different keys. And if you pull those presets back up that you save, if they're specifically saved with a transpose, if I decide to play it in the key of C, and I've transposed them all up a half a step, and I save the presets that way, every time that I push a preset, it's going to go back to that transpose. The only time I say save the transpose is if you're specifically playing a song in a certain key and you want it to be that way every single time, then that's the function. So this one, just remember that when you do that, a lot of you have some of the settings that I have for some of the songs on the organs. Some of them are set specifically with a transpose and some of them aren't, to give you the flexibility to play that song in the key that works for your ears, okay? So you can kind of choose that. The tempo is kind of important too, I think. The voice is not voice, la 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 la. It's the instrument. That's what they refer to as the voice, the guitar, as I say. So that's a given. And I save a lot of the other settings. And then you choose the number. In this case, I'm going to choose number 7, okay? Only because there's nothing there right now. And when I do that, as soon as I press memory and I pull up this, that screen comes up naturally and I save it, it's instantly saved in that number, and you can repeat that process. Okay? Now, what you don't have time for today is when you save a setup, you save it internally and or on your USB. Okay? In fact, if I try to load in another setup, a playlist, or something that's built in, the GENOS2 is going to complain a little bit or warn you. It's going to say, hey, you have some changes you made. The minute you start making changes, if you go to another, it's saving, customizing the presets, and you go to something else, it's going to warn you that, hey, you made some changes here. Do you want to save them before you continue? Because if you do, it's going to go away. So that's the beauty of that, is it warns you at least. Next week, I'm going to go in a little bit of detail on that, plus a little special little bonus thing that I just recently learned, okay? But going back to the song, the playlist, is there are a lot of songs that I saw in this list. I was just scanning through them earlier, and I had some of these songs I had to like pull up my phone and I went, oh, that's what that song is. And then there were some like, I still don't know what that song is. But after I heard it, I thought, I like that style though. So the other thing about this list is it works both ways. Most people are using it to easily find a song, to easily get to the category without having to guess which category. The example that I use over and over and over is My Girl. And every time I ask somebody, is My Girl considered an oldie or is it considered an R&B? And I always get two answers, inevitably. And yes, they are the same as far as I'm concerned. I think it's an oldie and it's an R&B. But it's only in one category on the GENOS. And so it's good to have this because then you can see what category it gives you. And just as a reminder, when you select a song title from this playlist, it's going to program the presets in the middle, 1 through 10. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 8. Okay? However, you have an alternate way to use it. It's the same way in reverse. And when you're using the playlist, what did I say? When you set it up, use the presets, the registration numbers in the middle, 1 through 10. But here's an example. Let me find another song title. I might find one that I kind of know, but maybe I don't want to play that song. Let me just see here. Of course, when I'm looking and I see all these, okay, here's one. Candle in the Wind. Now, I know the song. It's a beautiful song. I wouldn't be able to play it now because I don't have the music in front of me, but I'm familiar with the song. Now, first thing I do is I find Candle in the Wind. I might go to the playlist category, pop, hit select, and then it'll set up my presets. But let's use it differently. Candle in the Wind. This is the rhythm style it's going to choose for you. Love song. Okay? So maybe this way, I might go about it differently. Instead of going to the category on the playlist, I'm going to find this style instead and use my one-touch settings. Maybe I have some presets already in the in the GENOS, and I don't want them to go away. I want them to stay there. All right? Now here's what's clever. These categories on the right column here, that's in the playlist, match the categories of the styles. All right? So Candle in the Wind, Love Song is the style, Pop is the category. All right? So let's go back to the keyboard here. So rather than going the route of playlist, and setting up the presets in the middle here, I'm going to go in the other direction. And here's why. Right now, or a couple reasons why. It just depends on what suit your needs at the time. Right now I have presets for Pride and Joy, which I can also play, what was the song? Walking After Midnight. Okay? Walking After Midnight. And I want them to stay there because I might want to use them again. Now, I can always get them back and go through the playlist and all that stuff. But I want to keep them in there, and I want to set up the instrument to play Candle in the Wind, but I don't want to play Candle in the Wind. I want to play something else with it, okay? So what I'm going to do is, what was the category? Pop. And the style was called Love Song, okay? Now watch this. So I'm going to push the big orange button because I'm going to look for the rhythm instead. I'm going to push the orange button. Now look on the left side over there. If you looked at the categories of the playlists categories, they are identical to the categories that you see on the left with the styles. So they kind of go hand in hand. So in this case, I'm going to select pop. And I'm going to find Love Song. And you may have to sift through the pages till you can find one that says Love Song. Oops, I touched the wrong button. I hope I picked the right one. Let me see. Pop. Love Song. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, did I miss it? Let's
It's
type
on
it.
page 6.
Was it on page 6? Did I miss it? I thought my eyes deceived me. Okay, it was on page 6? Oh, there it is, right there before my eyes. My dad used to say when I couldn't find something, you have to look past your nose. So there it is. So when I touch it, okay, now I'm going to come back over here. Now this time, I'm not going to use these presets because these presets still have what I had from the playlist earlier. I decided to go the other way. Select the rhythm style, music style, and then I'm going to set it up with one-touch setting. So that list kind of works in two different directions depending on how you're doing it. All right, and then I have to choose my intro. So let's see what intro works with here. Let's see what happens. Pretty. Okay, let me hear intro 3. I don't know. I'm not going to embarrass myself. But if I want to use that style now for something else, anyway, so you can use that in two different directions, however you see fit. So right now I have this set up for that. And then if I want to very quickly go back to the other one that I had for Pride and Joy, I just touch. Love my baby, heart and soul. Love like all the road, the ever go rolls. She's my sweet little thing. Okay. I don't want to scare you off. Okay, well, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully it was worth attending today. And hope you enjoyed the class. Next week, you got a sneak peek what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of revisit the saving setups, taking something there, saving your own, get a little bit into the nitty gritty. I'll touch on some of the basics in the beginning for about 5 minutes, and then we'll get into a little more of that. And then if I can do what I think I was learning this morning, I have a nice little bonus, a little trick for you that would be worth utilizing. Hopefully it's something you haven't done before, okay? So that's all I have, everyone. Stay safe, keep playing music every day, be kind to one another, and mwah, everybody. See you real soon.